We don't own a scale in this house because that's not how we measure ourselves. So those are some of the things I do with my kids. And just like you, my child came home today and was like, I'm going to do my workout. I'm like, what workout? And she came out in the living room and she's doing, jumping jacks and lunges and stuff. And I don't force it.
Yeah.
And she'll find her way.
Yeah.
Listen, everybody hang on to your seat because Adam's pretty fired up about something today. So we're going to talk about it. Adam, I'll let you take the lead here.
All right. I'll start with, if you're a parent, I would hope, and actually I would implore you to watch this. It could save your child or children from a lifetime of body image issues. And if you're not a parent, then you might want to skip this one. Although, you still might learn something. But if you're a parent, please watch this. I had a conversation the other day, and it's just been on my mind, and I deal with it all day long with people, where people are still dealing with body image issues, self-talk that all stemmed from their parents. And I'll say almost always it's well-intended, well-meaning parents, but they just don't know. So there's two things I would implore you to do as a parent to help your child have a healthy body image. All right. Number one, never, ever, ever comment on your child's body. We all know if we're bigger than we need to be. We all know if we've gained some weight. We all know if we're overweight. Talking to your child about their weight and their body and all sorts of things is going to create some sort of resentment. How do I know? I've been at this for over 16 years now. I hear it all day long with clients. Okay. So if you can, try not to talk with your child about how they look, unless it's positive, of course. Okay, so that's number one. We can kind of dig into that a little more after. And then the second thing is how you talk about yourself in front of your child is almost as important as the way you talk to your child about them. Right? So how you talk about yourself in front of your child is really, really important. Right? So if you're constantly the type of like, oh, I look so gross, or I can't believe I ate this, or I'm so fat, or these clothes don't fit, or whatever it might be, like that becomes your child's self-talk. They normalize that. They think that is the way to talk to themselves. So ideally, you want to model how you want your children to talk to themselves versus you trashing yourself. Because if you trash yourself, eventually your child is going to trash themselves. Again, this is something I deal with on a daily basis of people kind of saying, I don't want my kids to have the same issues I have because of my parents. And again, we're all well-meaning. We all love our kids more than anything. We just don't know. And sometimes we can't help ourselves, right? Because, we dealt with it ourselves. We gained weight. We lost weight. We don't want our children to grow up overweight. And we don't want them to deal with that. But the best thing you can do is remove yourself from the equation and not be the food police.
That's a lot. That's a lot to take in, right? And I would venture to say that number two that you shared is probably the first line, the front line, right? Because even before we can have conversations, even before there's self-awareness with a child, they're witnessing us. We're already teaching them. So for sure, it starts with us. It starts with us, So, and I know there's a lot of messaging out there right now, like, fix your wounds, don't pass them on to your kids. It sounds cheesy. Man, it couldn't be more right, and for those of you out there that are working towards that, we know how difficult it is, right? And we know it is terrifying to think we might give that to our kids.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what you're sharing. I know it comes from a very sincere place.
Thank you. It's just, I dealt with it with my sister. So my father, my sister struggled with her weight. My parents got divorced when I was 4. She was 9 years old. My sister was definitely an emotional eater. So she definitely used food as a coping mechanism. There's no doubt. And my father would always make comments about her weight. And, my father passed away, and there is no doubt that when you continue to make comments about someone's weight, it's just, it's obviously not great for their confidence, but it also could actually have the opposite effect, right? So what happens is if someone's pushing you one way, you wind up going the other way, and you assert your independence or your freedom by going the other way and gaining a lot of weight. And it wasn't actually only until my father passed away where my sister really got super healthy and is on a great track. And there is no doubt in my mind that it was because my father was no longer around. So that's number one. And then number two is, I think my mom, like many moms in the 80s and 90s, grew up with all these things, all these shakes and, programs and all this stuff, right? And my mom always took care of herself. And I think that, I just think that I think my mom is very hard on herself. And there's no doubt about that. I think I inherited that. I'm very hard on myself too. And I think when you hear, I used to, like, as a little boy, you're always like, oh, you look so beautiful. You look so beautiful to your mom. And it's like, and not that this is the reason, but it's like, I don't think my mom ever felt beautiful, or like always felt like she could be more, or, be skinnier, even though she was, didn't need to be. It's like, you just want to appreciate that, and you want to not, be like, you know what? Yeah, I do look good. Or thank you. Or, I don't know, but just, when you're really hard on yourself in the mirror and your kid sees that, it could definitely have an impact. And I'm not, Mom, if you're watching this, I'm not saying like you cause any issues here. All I'm saying is like, when you're looking in the mirror as a parent and your child is right there, you might want to say, wow, I look good, or I feel really good, or I feel strong, or whatever it might be. But you, at the very least, if that feels weird, do not say anything negative about yourself. That is the very least. Do not say anything negative.
Right.
Do not say I look gross. These clothes, I look disgusting. And people say that, right? We've all kind of had that talk, or some people have had that talk with themselves. And then also with food, right? The way you are around food, right? If you're constantly like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten this, or I wish I had more discipline, just the way you talk in front of your children is really impactful. And even more than that is the way you act, the way you are as a human in front of your children, right? Because kids listen to what we say somewhat, but they really do what we do. And I have many conversations with parents who are like, I want to help my child be healthy. They're on a track to be overweight, or they are overweight. And the single best thing you can do is get your health and fitness in order. That is the single best thing you can do. Model the behavior you want, right? Because if you're constantly on and off, if you're constantly like, all right, I'm starting fresh tomorrow, or I'm starting fresh Monday, or you're constantly like, all right, I need to exercise, and I'm not, like, they see that, right? And I just, I want to share something recently that happened, which was like, and I'm going to preface all this. I am not a parenting expert, but I'm very passionate about this, and I just believe in what I'm saying right now about this, just because I've seen this for over, close to 2 decades now. But a proud parenting moment was, I love exercising, and I've never, not once, told my kids they should exercise, push them to exercise, not once. And recently, I was working out, and they're like, hey, Daddy, can we join you? And to me, it's like, awesome, right? That's the goal, is they want to join me. I've never, ever told them they should exercise, because I know, the more I push, the more they might go the other way. Of course, I want my kids to be healthy. Of course, I want them to be strong and self-confident and, experience the magic of seeing your body transform. But I know if I push that, they'll likely go the other way. Long ranting here.
That's okay. It's okay. It's good. It needs to be said. I think I work with a lot of clients who ask me, well, how do I do this with my kids? Like, what do I say to my kids? I'm worried I'm going to mess up my kids. Right? And I think the single best thing is what you said. Model the behavior you want to see in them. And you do have to mind what you say. I have an 11-year-old daughter. she's at a stage in her life where she's exposed to a lot of things I can't control, right? Social media, I mean, as much as we try to limit that and control that, she finds her way on it with her friends, all this stuff. And it's every once in a while she'll say something to me like, she's very thin. She just is like a beanpole. And people give her a hard time for that and trying to help. She's like, am I underweight? Is there a problem with me? And I always say, well, first of all, has your doctor expressed any concern with your weight? No. I said, is your body healthy? Yes. Do you take care of it? Do you try to feed it well? Do you give it water? Do you try to sleep well? Do you move your body? Does it feel good? Yes. There's nothing wrong with your body. And that's the way I try to shape her mind about it.
Yep.
We really think, like, me, I'm always about relationships. So I always start from that place. And I do that with food too. And food is harder for me. I'm not sure why. Maybe that's just the way, I've developed, is like talking about food is more challenging to me. So I really have to mind what comes out of my mouth and help frame things in a very positive relationship. Like these foods are for fun times, and these foods we want to kind of make sure we incorporate regularly because our body needs us to give it certain things. It's never about, well, you're disgusting if you don't, or you're going to be fat if you don't. We don't even talk about that, right? We don't own a scale in this house because that's not how we measure ourselves. So those are some of the things I do with my kids. And just like you, my child came home today and was like, I'm going to do my workout. I'm like, what workout? And she came out in the living room and she's doing, jumping jacks and lunges and stuff. And I don't force it.
Yeah.
And she'll find her way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I think, my one biggest takeaway, or three, I'll leave you. Number one, the way you talk about yourself in front of your children is really, really impactful. If you're not going to say anything nice about yourself, don't say anything at all. We all know that. Number two, try not to comment on your kid's body. Like, they know what's going on. They see it. They feel it. Even though you might be driving you crazy, it's so hard as a parent. You don't want your child to feel any discomfort or get made fun of or whatever it might be. But they know, and the more you kind of push, the more they're likely going to go the other way. And number three, and I think also super impactful, is if you want to help your child, help yourself, right? The way you talk to yourself in front of them, the foods you have available, the way you eat, the way you move, the way you exercise, the way you talk about all this stuff, that's really impactful. Because again, our kids might listen to what we say, but they really wind up doing what we do. So hopefully this resonates with some of you. Again, I'm not a parenting expert. I do not pretend to be one on the internet, but I am almost certain when it comes to this stuff because I've seen it with thousands of people. I see it every day. And I just know this can help you and your children have a much happier, healthier relationship with themselves.
Awesome, Adam. Thanks so much for sharing. Guys, always happy to hear from you if you have any comments or questions about what we've shared today, and we'll see you soon.